It's mad how you can live in a city and never see any of this, or you just see faint smudges of it every now and again around the edges of your existence, but even then, you don't fully believe in it, because even though we live in the same city, where I'm from and where you're from could be two totally different, separate worlds. Hello, everybody. So, I'm here today to do a review on Who They Was by Gabriel Krauze, and this is in the long list of the Booker Prize. So yeah, I'm doing a few of these reviews of all the Booker Prize books that I'm reading. So yeah, let's just get into this one. I have to say I knew very little about this before I started reading it, but it is one of those books that stays with you and gives so many punches that yeah, it really shows you a different reality from what you have lived. So basically, this book is set in South Kilburn, in a part of London that is quite poor and dangerous and full of gangs and drugs, that kind of environment that we all know about, kind of, but we never explore in detail because, I don't know, I guess it's scary to look at it. But this is a semi-autobiographical book, so the author is from South Kilburn, and he lived through many of the same things. And basically, in this book, he pours himself into this book and tries to show how this really is. And from the beginning, it is very shocking and very violent in a very constant way. And that is because that is how life is for them. He's not trying to shock anybody. He's not trying to use violence as a tool to attract people the way that some people feel fascination for it. It's not in that way. It's more of a, here it is the reality. If you're not horrified by the fact that this is a real thing, and it feels very real when you read it, then what are you doing, right? But yeah, so this book follows Gabriel Krauze himself throughout, let's say, when he's 16 until he's 22, I think, or 23. And it shows how he detaches himself from his family in a lot of ways because he doesn't feel like he belongs there. And instead he goes to live in South Kilburn with his uncle, and there he starts, belonging to gangs and doing robberies and so on. And that's how the book starts. The book starts with him and a friend of his trying to rob a woman, and there are very, very horrific descriptions of how they try to rob this woman from the beginning, but at the same time it's done in such a beautiful language that you feel horrified, but at the same time it's real, and at the same time you want to know if this is actually how things are, so you keep reading. And this violence, it's not always as graphic, but it's always present. And relationships are never, they are strong, but they are always with this tint of violence to them. Romantic relationships and also like brotherly or friendly relationships, they are all like one big group, brotherhood. They call it a manhood. That they all do these crimes together. But at the same time, you also see Gabriel trying to find a new life and trying to. He's a human, basically. He's not a caricature of a criminal. He also has dreams and he has interests. He is very good at languages, and he went to university to study English at the same time as he was doing all these crimes, and went in and out of prison for smaller sentences. And you even see him comparing the literature that they are taught in the school or in the university with his life experiences. There's this chapter I really liked in which he studies Nietzsche, and he apparently likes Nietzsche a lot, because he talks about how Nietzsche says that morals are sort of a relative thing. Morals depend on your situation. You cannot pretend to have all these morals when everything around you is dangerous. And he really understands this, and other literature as well. He's able to understand in a deeper way because of his life experiences, and he also explains that in the book. So it is very interesting, that contrast of him living this violent life, and also the interesting part is that this violent life that he's living, this doesn't follow like a story in which like the tension keeps going up and going up until some climax point and then it finishes. It's just a constant violence and a constant tension that is built in the book, that it doesn't build into anything, but at the same time it does, because it just, that's life. Life doesn't have one constant upward slope until you find the climax and then it's gone. It's ups and downs all the time, and that's what the book does. It has the up and downs of life, and it puts that together hand in hand with university and this other completely different life. And even though he is very different from most of the people in the university, he never seems to feel out of place there. It is a different world, and as I have read that quote, it does show that he knows that they are two completely different worlds, but he doesn't seem to feel like he doesn't belong, even though some people in the university do feel that he doesn't belong there. He never feels that, so it's very interesting to see that, and also the understanding of this text, that you would expect the better off students can put more time on it and analyze better and do better in classes, but first of all, he's a very smart person, so he is able to do all this work alongside his other activities. But on top of that, some of the texts can never be understood in the same depth if you don't have the experiences of violence and the relativity of morals. And at the end, for me, that's what this book was about. It was about how morals are not this one thing that we think they are sometimes, that morals actually depend on your situation. You cannot be morally spotless if you live in a life full of violence, because you'll die before you can do anything. You have to survive for yourself, and sometimes that means that you don't do the most morally correct thing, in terms of, don't kill anybody, don't rob anybody, don't all these things. But at the end, it just depends on where you are and who you are. And he shows that morals, in a way, sometimes it can be a privilege more than a duty, because you don't always have the option to follow these morals. So yeah, I found that really interesting, and I thought that the book went really in depth into it and really explain what violence does to people, and how these people seem to can never win this fight, because if they are successful in the life they live, that means they would have done a lot of bad, and they will eventually not be able to get over the fact of so many people they kill or whatever. But if they don't do that, they'll never get out of the ghetto alive and have a good life. So you can never win that game. And of course there is also comments on how the government doesn't do anything, promises a lot of things but doesn't do anything, and how corrupt that process is. There is commentary on racism. So Gabriel Krauze is a British person with his parents are Polish, so he's a white person, but because of the way he speaks and the way he acts, often he's mistaken for a light-skinned black person or a mixed-race person, Jamaican, whatever, because even in police stations, but also in general by people, because they think someone that is involved in all that violence and all that crime has to be somewhat black, and that is commented on, that how racist these systems are as well. There is also commentaries on expectations that the parents put on us, and also, like, of course there is a gentrification and the fact that these things happen in London, and people that live in London, sometimes in the better off parts, the middle class, they don't even realize that this is real. So why would these people feel sorry for the people that they rob when they don't even care about them? They don't even know they exist. They don't fight for them to improve. So why would they care? Why would the people from South Kilburn care about the white people they rob, if they are the ones in a way oppressing them? So yeah, there were a lot of conversations about all kinds of social injustice, and how it ties to, I don't want to use the phrase human condition, but yeah, basically how it ties to being a human. Ultimately, this book for me, it's about morals, about how do you actually define morals in a world that doesn't have morals. I think it was a great book. Also, the language it was very interesting, because it's a mixture between this accent, like very dialect heavy South Kilburn accent, and these beautiful sentences and these beautiful words, and I thought it was very, very well done. It was very crafty, and I read it in audiobook, which I think it increased the experience, because it's read by the author himself, and of course he has that South Kilburn accent, so I think that I don't know how well it will work written on a page if you don't know how that accent sounds. I know that there is the first chapter of the book, the audiobook, I think it's in YouTube somewhere in a sample. So I will try to find it and put it in the description, because I think it's worth listening to at least a little bit if you have not access to the full audiobook, so that you get an idea how the accent works. So maybe that facilitates the way of reading the book in the accent that it's written in. But I thought that the audiobook was excellent. Yeah, I think that this book definitely deserves a place in the Booker long list. Hopefully also the Booker short list. I think it really is something special. I have never read anything like this before, and I think it's really, really well crafted. So yeah, those are my opinions on this book. I hope you enjoy them. If you have read the book, please let me know in the comments below what you thought about it, and if you haven't, if you are interested in it, I will highly recommend you pick it up. And until next video, see you. Bye.